Hello, dear beloveds. Just getting my camera all set up there. How are you? I feel really excited and honored to be here doing the weekly reading reveal. It's been quite some time since it's been my job, and for the rest of the year, it will be back into the hands of my priestesses. But today I get this really beautiful job of getting to commune with some of the sacred feminine archetypes on your behalf. So as always, what we're doing when we tune in to anything, whether it be crystals or oracle cards or clouds in the sky, we are simply attuning ourselves to a state of consciousness that allows us to commune with the infinite. So the subject of what we are communing with is non-essential. It's not important. What we're doing or what we're saying to the infinite consciousness that is all around us and infused with knowledge and information that we can access at any time, but cannot access in our ordinary run-of-the-mill state of consciousness, is that we are now ready to think symbolically and to experience symbolically and to merge with that spiritual sight, which is our natural way of being in the world, but is much more quiet and subtle than the loud 3D dream state that we inhabit most of the time without even thinking about it. So we're withdrawing our attention for a moment from the superficial world, and what we do as we cultivate that, in my great hope, is that that will become your ordinary way. That non-dominant way of seeing, knowing, hearing and feeling will become your ordinary way of experiencing the world. And then you remember to kind of think like a human at the end of that, not at the beginning. It takes deep devotion to unaddict ourselves or release ourselves from that addiction to thinking like a human, really, because it is an addiction, and because the evidence seems so real. Just as when you're in a dream, you really believe the dream until you wake up, of course. So when we begin to awaken our consciousness in this lifetime, we are unaddicting or releasing ourselves from that absolute privileging of the illusion, and we're moving into our true state of being simply by changing our perception and being able to attune to the archetypal or subtle way of seeing, hearing, knowing and experiencing the world. And that's what we're going to do together this morning. So I gave you the option to tune into and choose one of 3 of the sacred feminine archetypes, and it doesn't matter if male or female, whatever. You will still gain the incredible wisdom of these sacred feminine archetypes. And each one of them is an aspect of you. But at different times, we will be drawn or even repulsed by a particular face of the sacred feminine. And that simply means that that's where our medicine is. That's what we need. So it becomes an energetic scaffold, if you like, that we can hold around us. We can invoke the medicine of this archetype to hold us as we go through transitions, as we change relationships, as we change jobs, as we change beliefs, as we awaken further and further, even just to, hold ourselves at a higher level of consciousness than what we are normally able to hold. These archetypes are like that energetic scaffold, a little bit like when you break a bone. You put a cast around that bone in order to allow the bone to repair or heal in the best possible way. An energetic scaffold of an archetype, such as the sacred feminine archetype, can inspire our energy field and therefore our physical anatomy as well as our subtle anatomy to hold a higher order, to be in a more devotional state, a higher state of being. So let's tune into them now, and we'll see what each one of them would like to share with us this morning. So we're beginning with the goddess, who is the beautiful ancient relic, the large breast, the large belly, the goddess in all her forms. And we're going to tune in and just see what medicine the goddess would like to share with you this morning. And she's really speaking this morning to the schism between body and soul. So once again, speaking to the void that exists for most of us between reality, which is 5D consciousness, which is knowing that we are pure vibration, that we're not physical at all, and the physical reality. which is but a dream, which is but a projection of our belief about it. And our overzealous commitment to the dream is what is preventing us from knowing our God self, or our goddess self. In particular, she wants to speak to your negative self-belief around your physical form. So this is a very practical message from the goddess today. Where you are in judgment of yourself, you are preventing yourself from meeting your own glory, from being in your own full expression of your soul. So your addiction to criticizing yourself for the way that you look, the way that you're aging, the way that your body looks when you look in the mirror, all of these things are preventing you from being in a fully awakened state. So you may think that casually, disrespecting yourself or making bad choices about what you put into your body doesn't mean much on the spiritual scale, but in fact it really does, because it's a reflection of how much respect do you have for your soul. How much respect do you have for the goddess within you? And so it's high time, dear one, that if you are criticizing yourself and beating yourself up and putting yourself down, that you are actually unable to be on this sacred path of service, because your actions and your faith are incongruent. You cannot separate yourself from that which you are trying to offer to the world. So it's vital now that you find strategies to disrupt where you would normally go into negative self-talk, where you would become critical of yourself, where you would go into guilt and shame. You must invoke strategies, and invoking the goddess is one of those ways, because when you remember yourself as the goddess, you will come to have reverence for yourself. You will bow down before yourself. And a little side note here is that if you are being guided to eat in a certain way, drink in a certain way, exercise in a certain way, move in a certain way, behave in a certain way, and you ignore that, you are ignoring the goddess within you, because oftentimes the beating up of the self is because we've actually ignored our intuition. We've ignored our goddess wisdom. So we then get very critical of ourselves. So what will it take for you to serve yourself with reverence, to bow down at your own feet, and to honor this sacred temple of your physical form without going into that cycle of abusing the body and then feeling guilt and shame, and then abusing the body more because you feel that guilt and shame, and so on and so on. Reverence and devotion. Bow down before yourself, dear one, and you will break the paradigm of belief that you need to be self-critical, because that is simply a way of delaying your own awakening. Okay. That's the goddess. The next one we are speaking to is the priestess. The priestess is the image that she was standing in her beautiful Grecian robe, looking directly at us in all of her incredible priestess power. And we'll see what the priestess would like to share, what medicine she has for us today. You may be noticing, dear ones, that you have, well, let's call it instant karma at this point in your life. You may be noticing that the time lag between your actions, your incongruent actions, and the repercussions of that have become very, very small. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So that the moment that you step out of congruence, the moment that you behave in a way that is not in accordance with your faith, you get instant feedback from the universe. This is not punishment. Karma is not about a point scoring system. This is simply demonstrating to you that time and space, which are part of the illusion, the human illusion, are speeding up and actually becoming really obsolete in so many ways at this spiritual fifth dimensional level. Where you become more and more fifth dimensional, more energy, less matter, you will notice that you cannot get away with bullshitting yourself or others in the way that you once did. That there is an instant repercussion. that there is only so far you can stretch that illusion before it will snap back and usually, bite you. And that is actually evidence of how powerful you are and how much you have moved towards that fifth dimensional reality. So take this as a huge, huge kind of sign of your evolving consciousness. However, your human ego self will try to tell you that means things have gone wrong. It will try to tell you that something is wrong because you are now not having any place to hide. And you will see that as though you're being punished by God if you're still holding that faulty belief that God is outside of you. So the antidote here is to go deeper into trust and surrender, which is really the same thing. Trust and surrender are one. Where you are trying to, and I say this all the time to my priestesses, and I'm sure I'll see eyes rolling all around the place, where you are trying to play God rather than be God, you will not get away with it anymore. Because to deny or to play God is to deny your true power. You must, however, surrender the belief that things have to be a certain way in order for you to feel like God is on your team or on your side. Sometimes the very opposite of what we think should happen turns out to be the absolute medicine that will awaken and activate our soul above all else. So dear ones, be in absolute reverence and awe of your power that you are beginning to do away with the dimensions of time and space, and now you get instant repercussions for any time that you are incongruent. So give yourself over to the truth of what you are. Okay. That was the priestess, and the final woman we are hearing from, this final aspect of the sacred feminine archetypes, is the wild woman. And we see her in the image on the broomstick, naked, her glorious buttocks in the moonlight, her body just succulent and juicy, and just flowing hair, and just this absolute casual air as she looks back over her broomstick at us, and her absolute self-sovereignty. And I'm going to swear right now, so if you've got children in the room, please cover their precious ears. She is unfuckwithable. She is no longer in any way wedded to your opinion of her. She is in self-sovereignty. She is absolutely holding herself in all of her gloriousness and does not require anybody or anything outside of her in order to know her own royal worthiness. That absolute certainty of her worth is hers. And that is the wildest thing of all. One of my favorite quotes is that the mystical woman is the ultimate wild woman, because when we know that we are one with the infinite, what could we possibly need outside of ourselves? So the wild woman says to you today, burn down your codependent relationships, burn down your attachments to other people's opinions of you. Absolutely.